war killing millions of people. And he was a bad guy in the 1960s when the CIA hired him to assassinate Iraqi leader Abdel Karim Qasim and then helped Saddam take over Iraq. He's always been a bad guy, but he was always our bad guy. Right up to 1990, official Department of Defense documents praised Saddam for vastly improving the education, healthcare, and standard of living of his people, along with women's rights and religious freedom. His regime was called one of the most enlightened, progressive governments in the region. And it was. But there was a problem. The Berlin Wall had come down, the Soviet Union had collapsed. The first Bush White House had to find another bad guy fast to justify the defense budget. And they did, Saddam Hussein. They suckered him into attacking Kuwait, and the first Gulf War was on. Now the second President Bush wants his Gulf War too. But a preemptive attack on Iraq would be immoral, would be costly in terms of American lives and in dollars. Hasn't that one come true? Would require us to keep troops in Iraq indefinitely, would come between us and our allies, would incense the Arab world, would provide Osama bin Laden with thousands of new recruits, and would therefore greatly increase the terrorist threat. As a combat veteran, I will not stand idly by and watch our security destroyed by a president who went AWOL rather than fight in Vietnam. When I joined the Air Force, I swore to uphold the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And that includes a renegade president. If they go ahead with this war, I will call for the impeachment of George W. Bush, Dick Cheney, and the whole oil mafia. This war would be treason. God bless America, and God save us from George W. Bush. Now that was February 15th, 2003. A month later, troops were massed in Kuwait, but shock and awe hadn't yet started. This is a little of what I said on March 15th, 2003, on the eve of the Iraq War. I've been severely criticized for speaking out in opposition to this coming war. We're told that we're aiding and abetting the enemy. We're told we should support the president no matter what. Well, I say hogwash. I feel an affinity for the troops deployed in Kuwait. They're my comrades in arms. But the truth is, they're not over there protecting our freedoms. Our freedoms are not under attack by Saddam Hussein. Our freedoms are under attack by John Ashcroft. They are threatened by John Poindexter. They are trampled by Donald Rumsfeld. They are disdained by Dick Cheney. And they are not even understood by George W. Bush. The troops surrounding Iraq are not protecting us. We are protecting them and their honor and their freedoms by speaking truth to power. And here is the truth that we proclaim. This coming war has nothing to do with national security or freedom or democracy or human rights or protecting our allies or weapons of mass destruction or defeating terrorists or disarming Iraq. It has to do with money, it has to do with oil, and it has to do with raw imperial power, and it's wrong. A preemptive war would be immoral, illegal, unconstitutional, a war crime against the people of Iraq, and treason against the United States of America. Now that was March 15th, 2003, on the eve of the Iraq War. Now the point of this bit of history is that we in the peace movement knew better. We weren't taken in by the doctored and manipulated intelligence and the outright untruths we were told to justify this war. Just one more little bit of history. I'd like to quote briefly from the memoirs of the first President Bush, written before his son got the job. You remember, the first Gulf War, they stopped when they got the troops out of Kuwait. They didn't go on. And he says, quote, "Trying to eliminate Saddam would have incurred incalculable human and political costs. We would have been forced to occupy Baghdad and, in effect, rule Iraq. There was no viable exit strategy we could see. Had we gone the invasion route, the United States could conceivably still be an occupying power in a bitterly hostile land," unquote.
Sounds like an enemy for bad.
My sisters and brothers, it's just too darn bad his son doesn't read. Well, now here we are, 4 years and 3,600 American lives later. This misguided war has cost more American lives than 9/11 and dragged on longer than World War II. Yet we still have no accountability for how this war started. Oh, we know that most of you lily-livered members of Congress of both parties abdicated your constitutional responsibility to declare war, or not, and handed a blank check to the imperial presidency. Oh, we also know you were lied to by George W. Bush and his people. But what I can't figure out is how you believed those lies. I sure didn't. Are the members of Congress that much more stupid than we in the peace movement? Or maybe, did you really know better, but we're just being lapdogs for the fat cats as usual? Well, in 2006, the Democrats took control of Congress. And months went by. And months went by. And still you failed to hold President Bush accountable for his lies. What on earth was wrong with you? You know, it's a hackneyed expression, and I know you've heard it before, but it's true. Clinton lied, no one died. If it was okay to impeach Bill Clinton for fibbing about an event which only embarrassed his family and soiled a blue dress, what took you so long to impeach Cheney and Bush for deceiving us into war, costing so many thousands of lives? Where was the accountability? If it was right for Richard Nixon to have to resign under threat of impeachment for covering up an attempt to peek at the other party's plans, why was it not right for you to immediately get rid of all those responsible, not just for the 2 deadly wars of aggression, but for the loss of habeas corpus, spying on American citizens, torturing suspects in the phony war on terror, saddling our grandchildren with more trillions in debt, giving away our sovereignty with the North American Union, for goodness sakes, and subverting the Constitution itself? Where was the accountability? Well, much changed.